Mark, if I asked you to describe yourself in one word, what would it be?
I'd say chaotic.
Chaotic? How does that even work as a personality trait?
Oh, it's a lifestyle. Waking up 5 minutes before your meeting starts, spilling coffee on your shirt during the drive to work, and still managing to show up fashionably late but with a big smile on your face.
So basically, you're the human version of hold my coffee while I fix this mess?
Exactly. Chaos under pressure and coffee stains.
Well, I guess chaotic is one way to describe yourself. But hey, at least you'll never get bored.
No boredom for me. Every day's an adventure.
Mark, you're a walking personality test.
Bring it on. I'm ready for any chaos and for the coffee.
Hello, and welcome back to our channel, Speaking English Daily Dose. We're thrilled to have you join us today.
Hi everyone, it's fantastic to see you again. I'm Mark.
And I'm Sarah. Before we jump into today's lesson, I've got a quick question for you, Mark.
Oh, I'm ready. What's the question?
If I asked you to describe yourself in just one word, what would it be?
That's a tough one. I'd probably say adventurous. I love exploring new places and trying new activities. How about you, Sarah?
Oh, I'd say curious. I'm always asking questions and diving deeper into things that interest me.
Great answers. And actually, that's exactly what we're talking about today.
Yep. Today we're going to learn how to talk about your personality in English. It's super useful in all kinds of situations. Job interviews, meeting new people, or even just chatting with friends.
And when you can describe your personality clearly, you sound more confident and natural in English.
That's right. So if you find this lesson helpful, don't forget to give us a thumbs up and subscribe. It really helps us keep making more videos.
All right, let's dive in. Sarah, have you ever had one of those moments when describing yourself was, well, awkward?
Oh, definitely. I remember my first interview. They asked me to tell us about yourself, and I froze. I just blurted out, I'm friendly.
Sometimes less is more, but friendly doesn't quite say everything, does it?
Exactly. But no worries, after today's lesson, you'll never be stuck like that again.
Let's start with some great personality traits to describe yourself. Sarah, what's a trait that everyone loves?
I'd say helpful. People really appreciate someone who's willing to lend a hand or offer advice when needed. It's one of those qualities that makes others feel supported and valued.
Absolutely. If you're helpful, you make people feel like they're not alone in whatever task they're facing. It's about being the person people can turn to when they need assistance. For instance, my coworker is always willing to stay late to finish tasks, even if it's not part of his official job. I really admire that kind of dedication and willingness to pitch in.
That's awesome. It goes beyond just helping out, too. Being helpful also means being someone people can trust when they need guidance or when they feel stuck. It creates an atmosphere where teamwork thrives. Another trait that really stands out to people is reliable. If you're reliable, people know they can count on you without question.
Oh, for sure. Being reliable is a huge factor in building trust with others. My best friend is one of the most reliable people I know. He's the type of person who will always follow through on his promises, no matter how busy he is. For example, if he says he's going to help you move, he'll show up with a truck and a smile even if it's pouring rain. If he says he'll be there at 3 p.m., he's there at 2:59, and that makes such a difference in maintaining strong, dependable relationships.
Wow, that's impressive. I think I'm reliable too, but I might need a reminder to be on time sometimes. We all have our little quirks, right? But overall, if you're reliable, you establish a sense of security and dependability that others really appreciate.
Exactly. Reliability fosters trust, which is the foundation of strong friendships and professional relationships. Without it, things can get a bit shaky. Now, let's talk about determined. If you're determined, it means you don't give up easily and you work relentlessly to reach your goals, no matter the obstacles that might stand in your way. It's about having that inner drive and resilience.
Yes, determination is a key trait in any job interview or any situation where you're trying to accomplish something difficult. Someone who's determined shows they'll keep going no matter how many setbacks they face. They're not easily discouraged. This kind of perseverance is especially important when you're pursuing long-term goals.
Right. My cousin is a perfect example of determination. He started his own business a few years ago. At first, things were tough. He struggled to find clients, had a lot of financial setbacks, and even had moments where he doubted if it was worth continuing. But no matter how tough it got, he didn't quit. He found a way to make it work, and now his business is flourishing. That determination is what really turned things around for him.
Wow, that takes a lot of grit. Starting your own business is a huge challenge, and it requires both hard work and an unshakable belief in your vision. It's inspiring to see how determination can lead to success. Another key trait that I really value is optimistic. If you're optimistic, you always try to see the positive side of things, even when things don't go as planned.
Exactly. Optimism is one of those traits that can really uplift the mood of a group or a team. People who are optimistic don't dwell on problems for too long. Instead, they focus on solutions and keep a hopeful outlook. My aunt is the most optimistic person I know. No matter how tough things get, she always manages to stay upbeat. Even when something goes wrong, she looks for the silver lining and encourages everyone around her to do the same.
I love that. Optimism really helps in tough situations because it helps you stay motivated. When things seem like they're falling apart, someone who's optimistic can remind you that things will get better, even if it takes time. I think it's an essential trait to have, especially in a world where we face challenges every day. Now, let's talk about adaptable. Mark, would you say you're adaptable?
Oh, adaptability is huge. It means you can adjust easily to new situations and environments. Whether it's a sudden change at work, a new life challenge, or an unexpected twist in plans, being adaptable means you're flexible enough to handle whatever comes your way. It's not just about being able to go with the flow, but having the mental flexibility to thrive in new circumstances.
I totally agree. I used to be a bit rigid with my routines. I liked things planned out and set in stone, but I've learned to be more adaptable, especially when it comes to work and life in general. When you're open to new ideas and willing to adjust, you make life a lot easier for yourself. For example, when I moved to a new city last year, I had to adapt to new work routines and a whole new lifestyle, and that experience really helped me grow.
That's so important in today's world, where things are always changing. Adaptability helps you stay flexible and open-minded, which in turn helps you grow both personally and professionally. Whether it's adapting to new technology, a new role at work, or new social environments, being adaptable allows you to stay ahead of the curve and succeed in any situation.
It's true. Adaptability is especially important because the world is moving faster than ever. What worked yesterday might not work tomorrow, and those who can embrace change are the ones who thrive. I think adaptability is one of those traits that might go unnoticed at first, but it's vital to success in life. It helps you bounce back from challenges and look at problems as opportunities for growth.
You're absolutely right. In fact, adaptability is a superpower that allows you to transform challenges into opportunities. It's one of those qualities that helps you not just survive, but actually thrive, no matter the circumstances. So, all these positive traits, being helpful, reliable, determined, optimistic, and adaptable, are such powerful tools to have in both your personal and professional life.
Definitely. And when you combine these traits, you become someone people admire and enjoy being around. You become a natural leader, someone who inspires others and makes a positive impact on their environment. Whether you're at work, at home, or out with friends, these traits can help you build meaningful relationships and succeed in whatever you do.
Absolutely. I think the best part is that these traits are all things we can develop and improve over time. It's not about being born with them, it's about practicing them and making a conscious effort to embody them every day. And when you do, you'll find that people are naturally drawn to you because you bring positivity and value to every situation.
Well said. And just remember, while these traits are wonderful to have, it's important to be yourself. Don't feel like you have to be perfect. Embrace who you are and work on developing these traits at your own pace. Whether you're starting a new job, building relationships, or just looking to grow as a person, these positive traits will serve you well. Now, let's get real for a moment. Not every personality trait is all sunshine and rainbows. We all have our strengths, but also our areas to improve. It's important to acknowledge both sides of our personalities.
That's right. Life is full of ups and downs, and our personalities reflect that balance. It's not just about the positive traits, but also how we handle the areas that could use some growth. Sarah, would you say you're more reserved or outgoing?
Well, I'd say I'm somewhere in the middle. I enjoy meeting people, but I'm not the type to dominate the conversation. I like to listen, get to know people, and engage in meaningful exchanges, but I don't always feel the need to be the center of attention.
Same here. I love deep conversations, but I'm not the one who's constantly talking. I think it's all about balance. It's great to enjoy socializing, but it's also important to give others the space to share their thoughts. Too much talking can sometimes drown out what others have to say, and you lose out on a lot of perspectives.
Absolutely. There's a fine line between being outgoing and overwhelming people with too much information. I think it's the balance that makes conversations really enjoyable. It's about understanding when to speak and when to listen. That's why I think understanding your own personality is so important. It helps you figure out the best way to interact with others.
That's a great point. Let's dive deeper into some of these realistic traits. For example, what about talkative versus quiet? I know you're a bit more talkative than I am, right, Sarah?
Ha, guilty as charged. I do tend to talk a lot sometimes. I think it comes from my natural curiosity and desire to share ideas. But I also understand the importance of listening. In conversations, I try to balance speaking with listening. That's something I've learned over time. Sometimes less talking can lead to more meaningful exchanges.
Well, I can definitely appreciate that. I'm more of a quiet person, but I love listening. Quiet people can often be great listeners, which is a highly valuable trait in conversations. People tend to open up more when they feel heard, and I think that's one of the reasons I enjoy listening so much.
Yes, exactly. Being quiet doesn't mean you're not participating. It just means that you're giving space to others, and that's often just as important. Sometimes the best way to connect with someone is to let them speak freely. I think that's something we all need to learn, that there's value in listening as much as there is in talking.
Totally. And I think in any conversation, whether it's with friends, coworkers, or even strangers, there's a beauty in finding that rhythm. Some people are naturally talkative, while others prefer to keep things a bit quieter. But it's about learning to adapt and recognizing that both styles bring something valuable to the table.
Exactly. Now, let's talk about organized versus spontaneous. I know I lean more towards being spontaneous. Sometimes I just feel like doing something fun on the fly. Like last weekend, I decided to drive to the beach just because it sounded like a good idea at the time.
Wow, that would stress me out. I'm definitely more organized. I love making lists, using planners, and sticking to routines. For me, planning things out brings peace of mind. I need to know what's coming next, and that sense of order really helps me feel in control of my day. Spontaneity sounds exciting, but it's just not how I'm wired.
I totally get that. It's amazing how our personalities shape the way we approach everyday life. But I think the beauty of it is that we balance each other out. While I'm more spontaneous, you help bring structure to the table. That's why I think it's important to have a mix of both. Being organized helps you stay on track, while being spontaneous allows you to break free from the routine every once in a while.
Exactly. Having a healthy balance between the two is key. There are times when I could definitely use a bit more spontaneity in my life, and you might benefit from some structure every now and then. The trick is knowing when to plan and when to be flexible, and that's something you can only learn by paying attention to how your personality influences your choices.
Right. And the best part is that being spontaneous doesn't always have to mean chaos. It can also mean being open to new experiences and making room for new opportunities. For example, last weekend's beach trip wasn't planned, but it turned out to be one of the best decisions I made in a while. That kind of freedom can bring a sense of joy and adventure.
I see your point. It's definitely refreshing to break away from the routine now and then. And I think this is a good example of how personalities shape our day-to-day lives. There's no one-size-fits-all approach. What works for one person might not work for someone else, and that's totally fine. It's about finding what works best for you and learning to embrace it.
Absolutely, and I think being aware of your natural tendencies helps you grow. For instance, I've learned that being more organized doesn't have to take away from my spontaneity, it can actually enhance it. Having a general idea of what I need to do allows me to enjoy the spontaneous moments even more because I don't feel overwhelmed by the chaos.
That's such a great way to look at it. And conversely, spontaneity can bring a sense of excitement to your life. But it also requires being flexible and comfortable with uncertainty, which not everyone finds easy. So I think the key is to allow yourself the freedom to experiment and adapt. That's where growth happens, by stretching outside your comfort zone.
Exactly. And moving on to another aspect, let's talk about being emotional versus logical. I would say that I'm definitely more emotional. I tend to let my feelings guide me, especially when making decisions. If something feels right, I usually go with it.
I'm a bit more on the logical side. I tend to approach things from a rational perspective. I like to break problems down, analyze the details, and come up with a clear solution. Of course, emotions play a role, but I often find that taking a step back and thinking things through helps me make more balanced decisions.
That's a good point. Emotions are such a powerful part of our personalities, and they often drive how we feel and react to situations. But logic helps us navigate through decisions without getting too caught up in our feelings. I think a good balance between both is important. Sometimes you need to listen to your gut, and other times you need to step back and assess things logically.
Exactly. Both approaches are valuable and they complement each other. I think the key is to be aware of when to rely on your emotions and when to tap into your logical side. It's about having that self-awareness to know which approach will serve you best in the situation at hand.
It's all about understanding your own tendencies and learning to use them in the right context. Sometimes being overly emotional can cloud your judgment, but other times logic can feel too cold and detached. The sweet spot is finding the right balance.
Absolutely. And this balance is something that we all continue to work on throughout our lives. There's no one right way to be, but there's always room for growth. Some situations will require us to be more emotional, while others will need a logical approach. The trick is learning how to balance the two effectively.
Absolutely. And finally, let's touch on independent versus team oriented. I'd say I'm more independent. I like working on my own and having control over my tasks. But when I need to collaborate, I can switch gears and work in a team, though I definitely prefer being in charge of my own work.
I'm definitely more team-oriented. I love working with others, bouncing ideas off people, and being part of a group. I get energy from collaborating, and I think the best results come from working together. But like you, I also know the value of independent work. There are times when it's crucial to focus and get things done on your own.
That's true. The balance between independence and teamwork is really important. It's about knowing when to collaborate and when to handle things solo. Both skills are equally valuable, and I think the best teams are those where each person brings their own unique strengths, whether they're more independent or more team-focused.
Exactly. It's about knowing your own strengths and how they contribute to the bigger picture. Whether you're working alone or with others, you bring something special to the table. And when you embrace both, you become more adaptable to different situations.
That's a perfect way to end it. Knowing yourself and recognizing your strengths and areas to improve makes you more aware of how to approach different situations. Whether you're talkative or quiet, organized or spontaneous, emotional or logical, independent or team oriented, each trait plays a role in your overall personality.
Well said. It's all about balance, self-awareness, and adaptability.
Okay, now that we've covered some key personality traits, let's talk about how to describe them effectively in English.
Great idea. The easiest way to start is by using simple phrases like, I would describe myself as, or people say I'm.
Exactly. For example, I could say, I would describe myself as organized and focused. This tells people not just what you think of yourself, but also what traits you prioritize in your own character. Another option would be, people say I'm very patient. This is a more humble way to share your personality. It's less about you saying it yourself and more about what others notice about you.
That sounds professional and confident. It's a great way to talk about yourself, especially in situations like job interviews where you need to come across as self-assured. By using people say I'm, you're also showing that others recognize and appreciate these qualities in you, which adds a layer of validation.
Right, and when you're using these phrases, it helps you sound more natural and grounded. It's not boastful, but it still showcases your strengths. Now, if you're in a more informal setting and want to share how you feel about your personality, you can use expressions like, I tend to be, or I'm generally.
Oh, that's good. For example, you could say, I tend to be a bit reserved around new people. This shows a bit of humility and self-awareness. It's not about claiming to be outgoing, but it's an honest acknowledgement that you prefer to take your time before fully opening up to others.
That's true. You can also say, I'm generally optimistic, even in stressful situations. This shows that you maintain a positive outlook, even when things get tough. It's a great way to demonstrate resilience and a growth mindset.
Exactly. It's a softer approach that still highlights your personality. Using these phrases gives you room to be flexible and real about who you are without overgeneralizing. It's a balanced way to present yourself, especially when you're trying to show that you have multiple facets to your character.
Exactly, Mark. And if you're thinking about how to express areas of growth or improvement in a way that's constructive, you can use a phrase like, I can be a bit, for example, I can be a bit impatient sometimes, especially when I'm in a rush, but I'm working on being more patient.
That's a great way to show that you're self-aware and open to growth. It's not about pretending to be perfect. It's about being honest and reflecting on how you're striving to improve. Plus, admitting areas where you're working on change can make you come across as more relatable and approachable.
Yes, it's also a way to show that you're willing to grow, and people really respect that. When you acknowledge a trait you're working on, you demonstrate maturity and a willingness to improve, which is a great quality in both personal and professional settings.
Absolutely. It shows that you're conscious of your own development and open to change, which is something that everyone can admire. It's much better than pretending you're flawless and then getting caught off guard when your weaknesses show up. Being real and acknowledging where you're still working on yourself gives you credibility.
Exactly. So now that we've covered how to describe these traits in different ways, let's wrap it up with some practice. We'll ask you a few questions and we want you to answer them out loud. Ready?
First question. What's one positive personality trait you have? Think about it for a moment. Then say it out loud using one of the phrases we discussed, like, I would describe myself as.
Now, for the second question, describe yourself at work versus at home. This is a great opportunity to showcase how your personality may shift depending on the situation.
Last question. How would your best friend describe you? This is an interesting one because it allows you to see yourself from another person's perspective. Use the phrase, people say I'm, or my friends would say I'm.
These types of questions are great practice for expressing yourself in a more nuanced way. It gives you a chance to think about who you are from multiple angles and to explore how your personality plays out in different settings.
Exactly. Once you start practicing these sentences, you'll begin to use them naturally in conversations, job interviews, or even casual chats with friends. Being able to describe yourself confidently will not only make you sound more fluent in English, but will also help you feel more comfortable with who you are.
So, to wrap up, today we learned about different ways to describe your personality in English. We covered both positive traits like friendly, creative, and hardworking, and more realistic ones like quiet, reserved, or talkative. Understanding how to describe yourself effectively is essential for expressing who you are.
Right. Whether you're talking about your strengths or sharing areas where you're working on growth, these phrases will help you sound natural, confident, and authentic. You can now easily describe yourself in a way that feels right for any situation, whether it's a formal setting like an interview or a casual conversation with friends.
And don't forget to avoid those common mistakes that many people make when describing themselves, like overloading your answer with too many traits or being overly negative. Keep practicing these patterns, and soon enough, you'll be able to describe yourself with ease and confidence.
Exactly. And remember, everyone's personality is unique. It's not about being perfect. It's about being yourself and embracing who you are. We all have traits that make us special, and knowing how to talk about those traits is key to making meaningful connections.
Thanks for tuning in today. If you liked this lesson, please give us a thumbs up and share it with a friend. Practicing these phrases can help anyone improve their self-expression in English.
And don't forget to subscribe for more helpful English conversation tips and lessons. We're always here to help you grow your language skills.
We'll see you in the next video.
Bye, everyone. Keep practicing, and remember that expressing yourself is a journey, not a race.